Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Women Wales podcast, brought to you by NatWest Cymru and the University of South Wales. I'm Gemma Casey, NatWest Cymru's Ecosystem Manager for Wales. Care and responsibilities, lack of mentors and networks, and a lack of faith in their own skills and experience. When NatWest CEO Alison Rose carried out in-depth research into the barriers facing women in business, these were some of the things that topped the list. With this podcast, we're bringing you the stories of brilliant female founders of Welsh businesses who have faced these challenges and more. We aim to bring you stories you can relate to, stories to inspire you and give you the confidence to move forward with your business dreams. With me for this episode is Kath Chadwick, founder and co-director of Front Door Communications. Hi, Kath.
Hi, Jem. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
Yes, not too bad.
Brilliant. Well, to get underway, can you tell us a little bit about Front Door Communications? What is it? What do you do? How many staff do you have? And so on.
Yeah, of course. So I founded Front Door Communications with my business partner, Lindsay Walden, in 2017. We're a PR, so public relations and digital marketing agency. We are a team of 8, although one of the team at the minute is off on maternity leave. Beth has just had baby Penny, so that's great. We're a team of 8. Half of us are journalists, print journalists by trade, and then the other half are kind of PR and digital marketing experts. So we work for various private sector companies from around Wales and abroad. Actually, we had to have some clients from abroad and over in England. And yeah, it's been a 5-year roller coaster, but so far so good, touch wood.
Amazing. Well, Kath, you and I go back a long way. We started our careers together in newspaper journalism at the South Wales Argus, and then both moved to BBC Wales, where we both worked in TV and radio. Tell me a bit about your journey from newspaper reporter to founding a business.
Well, as you say, Jem, we've known each other for too long. We're not going to say it out loud because it scares us both. But I started my career at the Barry and District News. I was there for 6 months on the B&D, and I loved that. And then the Barry and District News was actually bought by the owners of the South Wales Argus, and they then offered me a job to go and work in the Argus, originally in the Newport office, and then I went on to work at the Blackwood office, which is, again, we kind of followed each other with that path, didn't we, Jem?
We did.
I always had a love for investigative journalism. I am, as any friend or anybody who knows me will attest, I'm nosy by nature. And basically, when you're a journalist, you get paid to be nosy. It's like the best job ever. So I applied for a job to work on Week In, Week Out. So those of you who are old enough who might remember what Week In, Week Out is. But for others who might not, it's kind of the Welsh regional version of Panorama. Applied for the job. Never in a million years did I think I'd get it, but did. So was over the moon to get that, and then moved into BBC Wales and was there for 13 years. Working on various programmes, including Week In, Week Out, then the radio version of Week In, Week Out called Eye on Wales. And then I did a few Crime Watch roadshows on the right side of the camera before anybody says anything. I did a few programmes for Radio 4 following the build-up to the Ryder Cup. And then for most of my time at BBC Wales, I produced Wales at Work, which was BBC Radio Wales's business program that went out on a Thursday night every Thursday evening. I loved it. I loved Wales at Work. It was my baby. It was inspirational listening to people who'd started their own businesses. My dad is self-employed. I come from a long line of self-employed people. My dad was a scrappy in Pontypridd. Scrappy turned pub landlord because he liked his pub so much he bought it. And my parents have run that pub now for 20 years together. So self-employed. My brother's self-employed. So it's in the blood, really, and hearing those stories, those inspirational stories of people starting businesses, because the great thing is we talk about things on Wales at Work that were affecting people running businesses in Wales, things that were relevant to them. But also we went out and met people who'd started businesses, inspirational businesses. And it just kind of ignited this fire in me that, to be honest, I really knew was always there, to want to branch out on my own. It was always my end goal to start my own business. But, I had kids and I had a really good job at the BBC. So why on earth wouldn't I stay there? But through Wales at Work, we used to do things called OBs in the business, which are outside broadcasts. And we did one at, I can't remember what the event was, but Hayley Parsons, who was the then founder and CEO of Go Compare, said she would come along. She came along to the outside broadcast and she was great, as she always is. And as she was leaving, I said, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. I really enjoyed listening to you. And she said, I really like you. Would you like a job?
Amazing.
So after 13 years at the BBC, 40 was knocking on the door and I thought it's now or never. So I jumped ship and joined Go Compare as a PR manager. Was there for 2 years. Hayley sold up. I didn't want to be part of another big organisation again because Hayley sold to a larger insurance and financial services company. So I decided now is the time to do what I always wanted to do and what all those people have inspired me to do and start out on my own. So I started in freelance PR. And sort of 18 months later, Lindsay, who was my boss at Go Compare because she was the head of marketing at Go Compare before she went off to have her daughter. Lindsay and I, once she'd done her maternity leave, I said, do you want to join me? Because I can't carry on doing this on my own. And she'd handed her notice in, luckily, at Go Compare, so she joined me. And that's how we started in 2017. So, bit of a long-winded answer there. Sorry, Gem.
No, amazing. No, it's great to hear the journey. And I love the fact that you talk about the role models that you had when you were at Wales at Work and you were talking to those business people sort of day in, day out, but also the role models in your family as well. How important do you think that is? Because I mentioned in the intro, the research done by the NatWest CEO, Alison Rose. And one of the things that she found when she was looking at female-led businesses is that women were saying a massive barrier is the fact that they don't have role models that they can really relate to and engage with. It sounds like you had oodles of those and that really helped you on your way.
Oh, it massively. I was so lucky to have so many role models. Even in journalism, I did my journalism training in Pontypool Tertiary College. And, there were role models there from our tutors. Then when I joined Week In, Week Out, one of the senior producers that Jane Morgan, was a massive mentor to me. She taught me probably everything I know about journalism and taught me to be the best journalist I could be. And she is still a very close friend to this day. Then I was, the role models through meeting people through Wales at Work, working with people like yourself, Gem, I had a similar journey, similar backgrounds. My mother, is a great role model to me because she was an office manager at Pontypool College and basically ran a whole department there. My dad is a man who can literally make money out of muck. So he's a role model to me. My brother always wanted to do what he wanted to do and always wanted to go out on his own and has done it. And then, of course, meeting, Hayley Parsons, how lucky am I to have Hayley as a friend who did saw something in me that I probably didn't see in myself, and has supported me since that day, even though, we are the same age, but she has supported me since that day. And Lindsay, I have an amazing business partner that we work so well together because I am not very corporate. She is very corporate, and we just match really well. Her weaknesses are my strengths, her strengths are my weaknesses, and it works, perfectly together. And I think I've landed on my feet there, with the models, female role models that I've had throughout my career, as well as family role models I've had throughout my career. I have an amazingly supportive husband. You can imagine, knocking on the door of 40, a great pension at the BBC, and I say, I want to go, love, and you get Not everything that you would say. And then, of course, when I decided to leave Go Compare, I had a great job. I was headhunted to go there. I want to go on my own, love. Never has he said no. Never has he questioned. He's had constant faith in me. And I think that's given me strength. That's given me confidence. So, the support system that I have around me and the mentors I have around me have been amazing, and I count myself as very lucky, as well as the team now I have around me at Front Door. They are just amazing people. We work so well together. We are all women. We have tried to employ men, but just haven't found the right fit. And they're just, we support each other so much in everything we do, and I think that's really important. To have a team around you. I think sometimes people can have the right skills, but unless they're the right fit for your organization, it really won't work. And I think that's something I learned from Go Compare in particular, because Go Compare was such a fun place to work. I mean, it was an amazing 2 years and I learned so much. But unless you're a Go Compare person, and I think unless you've been in there, you can't understand. We used to have fancy dress days, dressing up at Halloween, and it just showed me a different way of working that was so massively different from the BBC, and one that Lindsay and I have taken into Front Door, and one that I hope I will carry on throughout the rest of my career, really.
That's really interesting. And something you said there, where you said that Hayley Parsons saw something in you that you couldn't see in yourself. And again, I think we see that so much particularly with women, don't we? And we can call it imposter syndrome or whatever you want, if you want to give it a label. How important do you think it is for us to almost give ourselves permission to recognize what our strengths are? And as you've done, see what it is you're good at in a corporate environment or in the day job, and then recognize how valuable that can be when you set up and run a business, and that these skills that you use in someone else's organization can be really valuable skills for running your own business as well.
It's really difficult, that one, because it still doesn't sit well with me. I have a successful, again, touch wood, business. We're doing really well. We have clients who have been with us since I've been freelancing. So I'm obviously doing something right. That's, going to be 7 years now since I was freelancing. But it is something I still find very difficult in acknowledging that I'm good at what I do. I always have people saying I'm good at what I do, which is lovely. When I left the BBC, I had, management saying to me, if you're ever out of a job, there's always a job here because you're good at what you do. But I think that internal knowledge and personal knowledge that you're good at what you do is really hard for a woman. And I still haven't got to grips with it, Gemma, if I'm perfectly honest. I still doubt myself very often. And I think, especially at my age now, I am 48. So, I am perimenopausal. I'm quite happy to say, put that out there. And that adds an entirely different element to it again, then, because you do have the brain fog. You do forget things. Words are my day-to-day life. I write constantly. I'm writing every day. Sometimes I can't pluck that word out the air, and I know it's not me because I've done that for 30 years. But what it is it's life catching up with me, and that's something I've had to tackle, especially in the last 2 years as well, and handle. And I don't think that's helped with the imposter syndrome either. I think you get to an age where you think, right, I'm getting to grips with this. I know I can do what I can do. I know I'm good at what I do. And then this comes and kicks you in the bum as well. So, you go through different stages. I'm happy about where we are as a business. I'm happy about where I am professionally. But, I still have the mother's guilt. I've got 2 sons, 18 and 16. Mm-hmm. I still worry that I'm not doing too much for them. I hope that I'm a good role model to them, that if you work hard, you will get what you deserve. But yeah, it's still not something that I think I've mastered. I wish I had. As you said, the mentors I've had have helped me with that. I think, Jane Morgan saw something in me that I didn't know I had myself at the BBC. Hayley saw something that I had in myself. And I think my business partner, Lindsay, sees something in me that I don't think I have myself either. So having that there all the time, and my husband, constantly backing me up. So having that support structure is an amazing thing. But personally, I still don't think I'm there yet. And I don't think I ever will be, if I'm honest. But I wish I could.
Interesting that you say there that you identify the importance of your mentors and your networks in helping to spur you on and give you that boost when you need it. What would your message be to somebody who's thinking of starting in business or is in the early stages? What is the importance of those networks, those mentors, those champions? And how do you go about identifying your tribe?
That, to me, the network that I have and I gained, I suppose, through both the BBC, being a producer at the BBC, as well as through Go Compare, has been pivotal to my business, absolutely pivotal. My black book, as I call it, is my contacts book. I still have it here next to me, has got me clients, customers. It's got me into meetings that I might not have had. It's introduced me to other people. We call it the Go Compare alumni or mafia, whatever you want to call it. A lot of us now work in other businesses. We have lots of Go Compare people who are our ex-Go Compare people who are our clients because they know us and they trust us. That network has been absolutely pivotal to us as a business. I have people. I only sat at a St. David's Day breakfast this week next to somebody who I used to speak to probably on a monthly basis when I was producing Wales at Work. I've kept in touch with him ever since. And, it just means that when I'm sat there at this breakfast where I know nobody else on the table, Chris will immediately introduce me to people because Chris and I know each other well because, I've kept in touch with Chris in the 7-8 years since I've left the BBC. So that kind of stuff, well, it's even longer than that, sorry now, nearly 10 years since I've left the BBC. So that is something that I've constantly maintained and I will always maintain because I think those people who, have seen you go through your career transition are really important. And if you can maintain those relationships and keep them and they still trust you, then to me, that is, an amazing thing. And, a lot of them are friends. They're not just networks. They are good friends that I know I could count on and they can count on me and they wouldn't recommend me to their network of business, business contacts if they didn't trust me. So yeah, that network of friends has been very pivotal. And to anybody starting out, I would say, if you're in the business, if you're in a similar business to the one you're going into, keep that book, keep that contacts book, never, ever lose track of that and never lose sight of it. And just maintain those relationships, even if it's dropping a line on LinkedIn or anything like that, maintain them, keep them, even if you're out of the business for 6 months, don't lose sight of, how pivotal they could be.
It's an interesting point because, as you know, at NatWest, we run the NatWest Accelerator Programme for growth businesses, and University South Wales have been running a Developing Entrepreneurial Women programme for women just starting out. And what we see is the power of the networks amongst those groups as well. So cohorts on the accelerator, for instance, I know that the alumni from a particular cohort keep in touch, keep supporting each other, whether it's just casting an eye over a document or referring somebody or suggesting someone. The networks are so incredibly powerful, aren't they? And I think that's brilliant advice to make sure that you keep in touch with people. You mentioned as well, I wanted to go back to, you mentioned your boys and your husband. Clearly, when you set up Front Door Communications, the boys were a little bit younger. And, as anybody setting up a business knows, it's not just a job, is it? It's not just a career. It is a life-changing experience. How on earth did you balance setting up a business, and how do you now balance running the business with the demands of childcare and running a home? We know that unfortunately, this all still falls disproportionately on women's shoulders. How have you managed that?
It has been tricky. When I first left Go Compare, were great and used to let me do 4 days in the office and a day working from home, which that balance just made a massive difference to my life, because it meant that, when I could take the kids to school, we were very lucky at the BBC as well that we started at 9:30, so I could always do the school run because that was important. And then again, I've got an amazing support network. I am really lucky. And that by then my parents were self-employed, so they could pick up the boys from school. My mother-in-law used to help as well on the odd day. So I was really lucky in that regard. When the kids were older, again, and I started the business on my own, then when I was freelancing in particular, it was work around the kids. So, I would take them to school, work in the day, then go and pick them up, feed them, they are boys, so that takes time, feed them. And then, I'd log back on of an evening then, if I'm perfectly honest. It sometimes worked, it sometimes didn't. But, that is the joy, I suppose, of freelancing in particular, is that I was able to work around the kids, although sometimes it was exhausting. Now is similar. We do work around the children, and we kind of have I know this word hybrid way of working, which is now, since the pandemic, the new word, but we've always been really flexible because, my business partner, Lindsay, had a young daughter. So for her, it was always important for the drop off. It's important for her to pick her up, and then she logs on in the evening. But what that means is I do the office hours. So my kids are older and I can make those directorial decisions during office hours. Then she kind of does the evening shift, shall we say. And it just works well. And we've carried on that with our staff members, if that's the way they want to work. We took somebody on recently, and that's the way she works. She does the picking up of the kids, she does the feeding of the kids, and then she logs on later. It works for us. And I think we've learned ourselves through doing it how it can work. It isn't for everybody. We're lucky that we have a business that it is based around a laptop, so it can be flexible. But, of course, if you're in a retail environment, if you're in a manufacturing environment, it is vastly different. And I completely understand that. But I think we've made it work for us. It does work for us, and it has worked for me. Now they're older. I'm in the sweet spot now. My eldest is in university in Plymouth. My youngest is doing his GCSEs. He's 16. So, they don't need me. I don't need now to take the school holidays because they are completely self-sufficient. I was so lucky during the pandemic that I didn't have to do the homeschooling because my youngest, Iwan, is quite self-sufficient and just cracked on with it. So I then could carry the weight of my colleagues who had the younger children who had to do the homeschooling, and they do the logging on in the morning and the logging on the evening, which was exhausting for them. But, we struggled and muddled through, and it worked out. And I think we're lucky that we have hit that sweet spot with my kids being older, Lindsay's and a few of the other girls in the team's kids being younger, that it does balance out. But yeah, it isn't easy. I'm so lucky with the support system I have, the support system I have had throughout my career, because I have worked full time throughout. I do, as I said, I was able to work from home, and I worked 4 days when I worked on Wales at Work. But other than that, it has been full time working. And, also my kids were young before the time of absolutely ridiculous childcare fees. So, I was very lucky in that regard as well. So, yeah, it's not easy, but, we've got there. And again, the support network behind me has made that much easier and made me be able to reach my career aspirations without being too concerned about that caring responsibility.
Brilliant. So we're nearly out of time, but before I let you go and get on with your day, if somebody's listening to this and they're just starting on their business journey, or they're thinking about leaving their career and making that leap, what would your one bit of advice be for them to bear in mind?
Oh, one One bit of advice? That's a tricky one. For me, personally, it would be go in with your eyes open. It isn't easy. I would say at least one day a month, I would rather be working in a supermarket. It's exhausting. And especially when you then take employees on, that to me, I find terrifying, and I still do, because then I find that so difficult because you have somebody else's mortgage on your shoulders. To me, my aim was always just earn enough to pay your mortgage, or earn enough to pay your mortgage. And I do that, and I have done that. But having the weight of somebody else's mortgage on my shoulders, I find still very difficult. And I probably do cry when we discuss taking everybody else on at every point. So realize it isn't easy. Go in with your eyes open. Enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, it's not going to last. And know your proposition, I would say. Know what you're going to offer, why what you're going to offer is different, and why people should go to you rather than anybody else. I don't do anything particularly different, I would say, to other PR agencies because I write. But what I would say is that we are different because the majority of us are ex-journalists. And therefore, we write from a news point of view, from a digital marketing point of view. We are very much, and I say this when I go into pitch meetings, which isn't very corporate, but we're bums on seats. So I want to know what your business wants marketing for. There's nothing worse than going into a business and they say, we just need PR. Why? Is it for bums on seats? Is it for customers through the door? Is it for brand recognition? Is it for what? So know when you're starting a business what you're going to offer, if that makes sense. Because I think a lot of people say, oh, I'd love to start my own business. Why? Who are your customers? What are you giving them that's different? Why would they go to you why would they shop at Tesco's rather than Spar? Why would they shop at Spar rather than, that is the basics for me. But eyes wide open, guys. It's not easy. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's well worth it. You're your own boss. You're not working for the man, you're working for the woman. And that's the best thing for me. And that's what I enjoy, is creating a business and an ethos in your business that you want people to be part of. So not one thing, there's a myriad, I apologise. No. I don't think you can ever put it down to one. That's the scary thing.
Oh, no, I think that's really enlightening. Thank you, Kath. Just loads of takeaways there, I think. And thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to hear further episodes of Inspiring Women Wales, then please subscribe. Thank you for listening, and huge thanks to my guest today, Kath Chadwick, founder and co-director of Front Door Communications. To find out more about this podcast and how USW Exchange can connect your organisation to the skills, expertise and facilities at the University of South Wales, visit southwales.ac.uk/business. And for more on NatWest support for small businesses, search NatWest Business Services.